Welcome to your deep dive. We often look at sources that are ambitious, but today, today we are charting a course into a collection of documents that really redefines the very meaning of that word.
It absolutely does. What we have in front of us is this mosaic. It's a mix of manifestos, philosophical statements, very detailed service lists, and then just pages of e-commerce links.
And they all seem to flow from one central entity.
Exactly. The entity is Sosnas, or SosnasNi, and the individual behind it is Mahmoud Ghazal, who you'll see online as that human 4B.
So what we're really looking at today isn't just a company. It feels more like a completely unified system.
That's the perfect way to put it. It's a spiritual, a technological, and a commercial worldview all rolled into one single package.
And the tension is palpable right from the very start. I mean, on one hand, you read the mission statement.
Oh, that mission statement.
Right. It claims Sosnas can do, and I'm quoting here, any task in all fields, offering services that no eye has seen, no ear has heard, and no heart think before.
I mean, that phrase alone sets the bar at a point that's almost beyond human comprehension.
And that profound ambition, I think, is the core paradox we really have to unpack today.
It is, because you're looking at an identity that links the absolute highest spiritual aspiration, things like offering skills with miracles by Allah as prophets.
Which is just a staggering claim in itself.
Right. And it links that directly with the most practical, immediate commercial applications you can imagine. Things like debugging a web app or improving the motion of a professional athlete.
Or even just translating and dubbing films into all languages.
Exactly. It creates this kind of intellectual whiplash. How can the same entity that's focused on, spiritual enlightenment and global peace...
Through mind programming, no less.
Right. How can that entity also be listing its services on Fiverr? It just doesn't compute in a normal business sense.
So our mission today is to really trace the logic of this system. We need to analyze this very unique digital identity, understand the structure of all these service claims, and then we have to dissect the technology, this natural intelligence, or NI.
Yes, the NI that supposedly makes all of this possible. And critically, we have to understand the framework of the relationship. The whole system is built on a specific contract between the provider and the user.
It seems like it's an attempt to solve, well, everything.
Yeah.
All the big human problems, from self-doubt and disease to global conflict.
And the proposed solution is this single, unified system that seamlessly brings together a divine mandate with digital service delivery.
It's a study in extremes. So let's dive in. Let's start by establishing the fundamental architecture, the identity, the scope, and the foundational philosophical rule that seems to govern the entire operation. Okay, so let's unpack this from the ground up. The central figure is Mahmoud Ghazal. His personal identity online is at Human 4B, and the entity that does the work is at SosnasNi.
And the first thing that just slams into you is the staggering breadth of the service claim.
It really is. I mean, when the sources say all fields, they don't mean it metaphorically.
Yeah.
They seem to mean universal competence.
Yeah.
It just defies the entire modern business trend of hyper-specialization.
It's exhaustive. We can almost break down the scope into these distinct areas. So in the digital world, they claim competence in producing videos, movies, songs, ebooks, music.
And the translations, you mentioned that before.
Yeah.
They explicitly say they cover all languages, which suggests a kind of massive global content factory.
It does. But then they immediately pivot. Right away, you're onto the mechanical and engineering side of things.
Yes, the technical software tasks for mechanical, electronic, web, or apps. It's like a digital Swiss Army knife, covering everything from hardware control to your standard web development.
And it doesn't stop there. Beyond the digital, they claim capability in the physical world, so agricultural, industrial, and commercial fields.
So we are literally looking at an entity that claims it can optimize not just a line of code, but an entire industrial supply chain.
Or the yield of a country's agricultural sector.
It's a fundamental capability to handle every single type of human production, from a simple digital animation to managing a huge industrial plant.
Which forces you to ask the question, what kind of technology or maybe philosophy is even required to credibly make that claim? I mean, standard business models just can't do this.
Well, the answer seems to lie in the overarching goal. This universal confidence, it isn't just aimed at, cornering the market. It's aimed at achieving this global socio-psychological mandate.
That's right. You have to look at the task they set for 2021. That really serves as the ultimate mission statement.
And that was.
To program the minds of all peoples with good ideas and views in order to live in peace without problems and diseases.
That is just immense. It's not just selling a product. It's selling a definitive, universal cure for human conflict, for illness, for all societal problems.
And the method is mental programming.
But how do you program an entire global population? That's where the scope becomes almost messianic. A unified, conflict-free existence achieved by distributing good ideas.
But here is the critical pivot. This is the philosophical rule that brings this huge, grand mission right back down to the level of the individual. It's a necessary counterbalance.
I found this to be maybe the most sophisticated piece of the whole architecture. It's this disclaimer that's repeated throughout the sources.
The one that says,
SosnasNi states, "You must remember that you are your first doctor, that you are the only one who can offer you help, and that I am only an aid for you."
that phrase, "you are your first doctor," that is the analytical nugget that defines the whole operating model.
How so?
Well, by establishing that framework, SosnasNi immediately shifts the primary responsibility for transformation or healing or success back onto the user, who they call the learner.
So even though the service provider is claiming prophetic capabilities and universal competence, they're framing themselves as just an aid.
Exactly. It's incredibly savvy expectation management. Think about it. If a web app has a bug, that's a clear technical failure. But if a person fails to achieve, say, profound peace or a prophetic skill,
Then the system has an out.
right, the system has already set the premise. The aid was provided, but the learner, the doctor, didn't fully execute the necessary self-work or commitment. It completely prevents a dependency structure.
And it inoculates the service against any claims of non-performance, especially in those really abstract areas.
Absolutely. So if the global peace programming fails to stop a war, it's not because the ideas were flawed.
It's because the collective learner humanity itself didn't commit to being its own doctor.
This rule is the ethical and psychological anchor for every single service they offer. And it sets the stage perfectly for the detailed service catalog we need to get into.
Right, because if you're your own doctor, then the services have to be focused on teaching you how to fix yourself.
They have to be. It's about how to learn, how to follow results, how to adjust your own internal functions. It's not about being passively healed. It demands agency from the user.
So we've got the identity, the goal of world peace through optimized minds, and this foundational rule of personal agency. Now let's get into the owner's manual for the human mind, the 9 core skills. So if the ultimate goal is programming minds for peace, the methodology for that has to be absolutely foundational. And the claims here are just so comprehensive. They cover the spiritual, the professional, and the deeply personal.
Let's start at the highest level with the spiritual progression.
Okay.
The relationship with the divine is very clearly delineated into 2 levels of skill improvement. The first is what they call the public relationship.
Which is skills without miracles with Allah.
Right. This sounds like, accessible, standard improvements in conduct, devotion, maybe conventional faith. It's piety that anyone can reasonably aspire to.
But the immediate escalation from there is just astonishing. The private relationship claims skills with miracles by Allah as prophets. Wait a minute. We're talking about a service that potentially allows an individual to attain prophetic-level spiritual capabilities. How? How do you even begin to reconcile that with offering a service on a freelance platform?
The sources don't really offer a commercial reconciliation. They offer a theological one. The implication is that if you follow the system, you unlock your full, divinely intended potential.
And that potential includes a private relationship that can manifest as miracles.
Exactly. It frames spiritual attainment as the highest possible form of skill improvement.
And then we transition directly from that, right into skill set 2, the physical and professional realm.
Yes, a complete shift. Now we're seeing claims for footballers, sports players, actors, singers, and then the catch-all, all jobs or works.
This is granular, practical skill enhancement. It's targeted at high-performance careers.
And it shows the sheer breadth of the application. If the system can program your mind for peace, it can certainly program your mind for a better free kick.
The focus on motion and voice is really specific and telling. Improving motion for athletes, like football players, and then improving voice and motion for singing and acting.
This is all about optimizing physical output based on mental input.
We're talking about achieving peak performance. Imagine a footballer whose movements are optimized based on zero-error calculations, or an actor whose voice modulation is perfectly controlled and emotionally resonant.
SosnasNi is positioning itself as the ultimate performance optimizer, no matter the field.
Okay, so let's move to skill set 3, which feels like the real engine for this whole mind programming mission, the holistic health and psychological foundation.
Right. The service claims skills for building personality and for releasing users from psychological or physical diseases.
And the method for that release is this remarkable hybrid, it says, by teaching you how to ask Allah, simple motions, and new psychological skills.
It's an integrated approach. It pulls from spiritual practice, from physical technique, and from cognitive restructuring.
And this is crucial, I think, because it shows the service is highly methodological, not just abstract. It's not just be better.
No, it provides specific, actionable steps across 3 different modalities. You're given a framework that involves spiritual petition, physical movement, and psychological tools.
Even more foundational is the focus on fixing core internal functions. The sources list, improving skills like, well, everything. Thinking, feelings, imagination, creativity, belief, observation.
Sleep, motion, voice, eat, and drink.
It's almost the entire operational architecture of the human brain and body.
If you look at that list, sleep, diet, thinking speed, observation, these are the absolute baseline functions of performance. The doctrine here is that all the higher level skills, spiritual and professional, are completely dependent on the optimal functioning of these foundational systems.
So it's like an extreme cognitive decluttering
Yeah,
in physiological optimization.
exactly. And the stated release goals confirm this. Releasing the user from stereotypical skills, overthinking, weak thinking, negative feelings or ideas.
Getting rid of all the mental sludge that prevents the good ideas from taking root.
And this brings us back to what I think is one of the most quotable and impactful nuggets we have in the sources, the central psychological doctrine.
Which is,
The fun started from fixing your ideas, and, my favorite, build your ideas before building muscles.
that phrase, build your ideas before building muscles, that just acts as a complete paradigm shift.
It does.
It asserts that your intellectual and psychological architecture is the fundamental prerequisite for everything else, any physical or professional endeavor. You have to fix the internal software, your beliefs, your ideas, before you can maximize the hardware.
And this leads directly to the comprehensive claims about improving relationships. SosnasNi views relationships not as these emotional mysteries, but as skills that can be optimized.
With Allah, wife, husband, kids, friend, girlfriend, people, basically everyone.
If you fix your ideas and your internal functions, your external relationships will naturally improve as a consequence.
But let's connect this back to the grand mission for a second. The sources promise to regularize your food, drink, and sleep through advice and Q&A. Is the claim here that optimized personal biochemistry, perfect sleep, regular diet, is the necessary prerequisite for achieving the political and spiritual understanding you need for global peace?
That is precisely the connection the system draws. Think about it. Weak thinking, overthinking, negative feelings, they're often exacerbated by poor sleep, an irregular diet, stress.
Of course.
So if you regularize and optimize those foundational internal functions, the individual moves toward a state of internal balance. A mind that is physically optimized is a mind that's ready to receive and process the good ideas needed for peaceful coexistence.
So global peace is achieved one regularized sleep schedule at a time.
In a way, yes. It makes that macro ambition programming the minds of all peoples suddenly feel very grounded in micro-level personalized self-mastery.
That is a brilliant synthesis of the personal and the political. But now we have to move into the true technological claim that anchors all of this. The distinction between AI and their proprietary system, SosnasNi. This is where the physics of the system get defined. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. We're moving from fixing sleep patterns to fixing technology itself, and it's through a completely novel framework.
It really is. And this distinction between AI technology, artificial intelligence, and SosnasNi technology, natural intelligence, is the absolute key to understanding the scope and quality claims of SosnasNi.
So let's start with how the source material defines AI.
Okay, so AI is made by people. That's the first point. It's inherently human-limited.
And its defining functional characteristic is predictability.
Exactly. Inputs equal outputs. It's a closed computational loop. You put something in, you know what you should get out.
And, crucially, AI is fundamentally unreliable, according to the source. It says it has a probability of error by 50%.
Which is a massive indictment of all existing human-made technology. It's basically positioning it as a coin flip between success and failure.
So if our current technology is only 50% reliable and intrinsically limited by human innovation, then the need for a superior system becomes pretty clear.
And that superior system is SNI technology, which is the stated future focus of SosnasNi.
Okay, and the source of NI is the first major point of departure. This isn't made by human engineers.
Not at all. It's defined as being made by Isa and Muhammad ibn Abdullah and some people with Allah.
So this makes NI a fundamentally divinely aided spiritual technological system. It's not a conventional invention.
It's referred to explicitly as a new contract with Allah, and it depends on the divine from first to last. This immediately removes it from the realm of secular computer science and places it squarely in the realm of miraculous technology.
Okay, we have to spend some time on the operational definition because this is the core intellectual nugget. How do you actually distinguish NI from AI functionally? It all comes down to the output test.
Yes. Conventional software, the human-made AI, it operates on the principle that input must equal output for the system to be considered functional.
Right, it works.
But SosnasNi proposes this new radical metric for quality.
If the output does not equal the input, it means one of three things. 1, the software is of weak quality. 2, it has a virus. Or 3,
It has SNI technology.
and that third option is the revolutionary one. It means that a divergence from the expected input-defined result isn't necessarily a bug or a flaw.
It's potentially the signature of natural intelligence, a sign of superior, nonlinear, unpredictable, and perfected intervention.
Let's try to make that concrete for the listener. So if I input a request to debug my 1,000 lines of legacy code, and an AI gives me the debug code, that's input equals output.
Right, standard operation.
But if NI gives me the debug code plus a completely new, ethically optimized framework for my entire company's operational structure, something I never asked for, is that the nonlinear output?
That is precisely it. The result is unexpected, it's of a higher quality, and it's morally perfected. The output transcends the constraints of the initial input.
So AI is a calculator, 2 + 2, 4.
A highly sophisticated one, but yes. SNI, however, might give you 2 + 2 = 5, but that extra 1 is the divinely aided, unforeseen ethical perfection that elevates the result beyond human capacity.
That is a massive conceptual leap. It completely shifts the definition of technological success away from efficiency and towards moral and qualitative superiority.
And the practical implication of SNI is profound. The source states that while viruses make software weak, SNI technology makes software stronger. It results in output with high quality, a nonlinear leap in performance.
And the ultimate quality claim, which is key to the entire global peace mission, NI promises a mistake rate of 0.
And more of humanity, justice, and mercy.
This zero-error claim, applied to technology, is what allows that ambition of programming all minds for peace to even be taken seriously within this framework.
Of course. If the system for distributing your good ideas has a 0% mistake rate, then the outcome of global peace is guaranteed as long as the learners commit. It fuses technological performance with absolute moral infallibility.
Wait, a zero-error rate when you're talking about human psychology, global commerce, political systems. How does the source reconcile that level of assurance with the inherent chaos and free will of the real world?
The reconciliation lies in the source of its power. Because SNI is rooted in a divine contract, it operates outside the limitations of human fallibility.
So if the technology itself is morally perfect,
Embodying humanity, justice, and mercy, yes. Then its application, whether it's fixing a relationship or solving a global trade dispute, will necessarily lead to a perfect zero-error resolution. The chaos of the world is overcome by the spiritual precision of the aid provided.
and to illustrate this, the source offers a really astonishing specific example of what NI can do.
Yes, the impossible TV phone.
Right? It says, from impossible TV phone takes me, see me, listen to me by some letters and symbols without people by Allah as Isa and Muhammad ibn Abdullah.
It's the maximum claim of trans-telecommunication. It describes a form of communication that bypasses all known physical infrastructure, all human operators, achieved purely through divine means, activated by simple symbols.
Its technology is divine magic.
And it's meant to prove the nonlinear, miraculous capability of the SNI system. And yet, they use a very simple analogy to describe the ideal outcome.
Water analogy.
Water, still easy thing for all people, swallowed it. We must make our life as water, especially our softwares.
This analogy, it emphasizes a goal of, what? Fluid, essential, universally accessible operation.
Exactly. The ideal state of life, and especially software, should be like water. Easy to consume, essential for life. And this ease is achieved not through complex, fragile human innovation AI, but through the perfected, robust simplicity provided by natural intelligence.
So, NIS is presented as the next evolutionary step beyond AI. It's powered by a spiritual contract defined by a nonlinear, perfect output and promises a superior ethical framework, all at a 0% error rate.
It's the technological foundation that claims the capacity to program the minds of all peoples for peace and health. And it's what connects every disparate claim in the SosnasNi ecosystem. If you have NI, you have the capacity to deliver perfect solutions in all fields.
Okay, so the moment we transition from this divinely aided zero-error technological system, back to the world of commerce, the contrast is just so stark.
It really is. You have this global spiritual mission presented right alongside a vast current e-commerce presence. It's the duality of the prophet meeting the freelancer.
And the commercial implementation is surprisingly comprehensive. I mean, it shows a concerted effort to establish a wide digital footprint using every existing commercial platform out there.
It's all about ensuring global accessibility. They list all the major freelance sites you'd expect: Fiverr, Upwork, Freelancer, Flyem, Comsat.
So if you need a service, the idea is that you're meant to be able to find Sosnas and their NI technology in the exact same digital marketplace as 1,000 other conventional providers.
And their breadth extends into physical goods, too, through the print-on-demand market. They list Zazzle, TeePublic, Spreadshirt, Redbubble, CreatorSpring, T+.
Which confirms they're selling merchandise, designs, branded physical products, right alongside these high-concept digital and philosophical services.
It shows an incredible understanding of the modern digital distribution network. They're just leveraging existing infrastructure to get their service and their good ideas out there.
But their stated future scope is where the conventional business model just breaks down completely.
Right. They state their intention to cooperate soon with governments and major industrial and electronic companies. They even list them: Microsoft, Google, Apple, Amazon, Samsung.
Which implies this imminent ambition to integrate the NI framework into the very foundations of global commerce and governance.
And yet, this pursuit of integration is immediately contradicted by this fierce assertion of complete independence. The source insists, and this is a quote, "We never need collaborators or helpful from anyone or companies."
That's a sophisticated paradox. What does that mean?
It suggests that any future cooperation won't be a partnership of equals. It will be a relationship where SosnasNi provides the superior, NI-powered service or oversight while maintaining complete operational and philosophical sovereignty.
So they'll integrate, but they will never rely on or be controlled by existing corporate structures.
That seems to be the idea. And this brings us to the terms conditions, the T&Cs. These are the operational rules for this non-traditional business structure, and they hold the key to the geopolitical leverage that SosnasNi claims.
Let's start with the relational terms because they really set the tone.
Okay. The entire site depends on, quote, "trust our services from user." This isn't just a commercial agreement, it's a required ethical and a philosophical commitment.
So if you, the user, don't commit to trusting the NI system, the transaction itself is basically invalid.
Functionally, yes. Then you get to the non-standard financial rules: no refunds, never demand money for investment, and a very curious security measure:
The one about tracking payments.
no one track information of received or sent received payment.
The no refunds part, combined with the zero error claim, is fascinating. If the service promises a 0% error rate, then a refund mechanism would be philosophically redundant, wouldn't it?
It would. But the sovereignty and registration rules are perhaps the most radical set of claims. SosnasNi states they have no contracts, no signatures, no headquarters, no representatives. It's a completely decentralized, commitment-based organization.
And yet, they demand this ironclad, irreversible commitment from sovereign entities. I mean, regarding government registration, the commitment is eternal. Once it's made, it can never be terminated, and the T&Cs never end.
Lifetime.
But wait, if the T&Cs say there are no contracts or signatures, how is it possible for a government registration to be eternal and irreversible? That sounds like a legal impossibility, not a business model.
The reconciliation is achieved through how the relationship itself is defined. Because the service is framed as this philosophical and spiritual aid rooted in divine zero-error NI technology.
The commitment isn't contractual in the secular sense.
Exactly. It's foundational and non-negotiable. Breaking the commitment isn't a breach of contract. It's a breach of trust in the system of good ideas itself. The permanence comes from the system's philosophical certainty that its ideas are perfected and necessary.
That makes the government commitment fundamentally different from a corporate one, and companies are given a slight reprieve.
Yes, they can terminate registration or our services anytime, but, and it's a big but, This flexibility is balanced by a strong unilateral counterpower
SosnasNi can terminate a company.
instantly. If distrust misuse is observed, and that's without any commitment from the site, this sets up a clear hierarchy. Governments are locked into an eternal relationship based on trust, but companies are subject to immediate termination if the NI system observes any ethical failing.
Which leads us to the most extreme term, the global impact of local distrust. The source warns that if distrust or misuse is observed in one country, the industrial, agricultural, and commercial services immediately stop.
In all countries, globally.
That is immense. It's almost a weaponized leverage.
It is. It treats the entire global economy that uses SosnasNi as a single, centrally controlled system of trust. Electronic services remain, which is an important distinction, but the physical productive capacity of the entire system, the factories, the farms, is instantly retracted from the world if one nation steps out of line.
It's more than a penalty. It's an enforcement mechanism for global compliance. It's tied directly to the ethical mandate of peace and trust.
And this mechanism enforces their goal of self-sufficiency. The system promises self-sufficiency for countries, companies, or persons if there is a commitment to the terms and conditions.
So the T&Cs are the mechanism that ensures that commitment. It's an all-or-nothing global commercial strategy. The price of access to this perfected, zero-error natural intelligence system is absolute, irreversible, global commitment and trust. Okay, let's step away from the monumental T&Cs for a moment and look at the language of the brand itself. Moving from that geopolitical scale down to the micro level of symbolic communication, the language used by SosnasNi is, well, it's very deliberate.
Especially the expansion of symbols like @ and hashtag.
Right, these aren't just social media tags. They're defined in the sources as description indication tools that encompass this vast array of meanings.
Things like @ in, with, by, and or, for, to, or on, etc.
It's like this symbolic language mirrors the universal scope of the service. A couple of simple characters stand in for virtually every possible connective relationship.
And you see this connectivity in the symbolic phrases they use in their designs and descriptions all over their e-commerce platforms.
Phrases like find me at, fix at, and then hashtags like hashtag love, hashtag football, hashtag music, hashtag peace, hashtag ideas, hashtag plant good ideas.
These phrases effectively blend personal identity, the ME at, with service claims, the fix at, and the broad global goals like peace and ideas.
The symbols are clearly intended to function as tools to improve humanity. The goal is to give people peace and humanities. The brand marketing is completely inseparable from the humanitarian mission.
But the narrative shifts dramatically when we get to the specific, highly personal grievance detailed in the source material.
Yes, the direct accusation leveled against Amazon, which the source describes as Amazon eating fire.
This section moves the discussion from high-level philosophy and technology to a very tangible, real-world conflict over intellectual property. It's a public call for support.
A call for support regarding the alleged theft of the brand idea, the @me on merch, and the book Full Truth of the World, My Realistic 15-Year-Long Story.
And that book title itself is so significant. Let me find the full title. Here. My Realistic 15-Year-Long Story with an Unjust Neurologist for Achieving Good for the Peaceful, and that we all may know good from evil since birth and until now.
It frames this personal struggle against a specific neurologist and a corporate behemoth like Amazon as part of the overall mission to achieve global clarity and peace.
The grievance isn't just presented as a business dispute. It's presented as an encounter with the very evil that the SOSNA system is designed to correct and eliminate.
So the theft, which involved 100 designs and 2 years of work, it becomes a case study in why the world needs the zero-error humanity, justice, and mercy promised by New.
Exactly. And the call to action is direct and global. Support Mahmoud Ghazal in the fight against Amazon to get the brand and book back, and to translate this request to the world by sharing it online.
It transforms a brand dispute into a moral, global conflict that requires public, collective support.
And this is the final piece that weaves the three identities together. SosnasNi is not some anonymous corporation. It is inextricably linked to the personal journey, the grievances, and the philosophical mission of Mahmoud Ghazal at Human Ford.
So the fight for the stolen brand and the book, The Full Truth of the World, is a microcosm of the fight for the good ideas meant to program the world.
It shows the system is actively engaged in the very conflict it promises to resolve. The ultimate purpose of the brand is to plant good ideas, and here we see the source fighting for the right to control those seeds. Hashtag tied outro.
This has been a truly expansive deep dive. We started with a set of claims that spanned global commerce, personalized mental health, spiritual miracles, and eternal governmental contracts.
All unified under the banner of SosnasNi, operating under the guidance of Mahmoud Ghazal.
To recap the core synthesis for you, the learner, the system proposes a radical form of self-improvement. It insists that while you are your first doctor, the services offered are divinely aided and promise zero-error performance in all fields.
Everything from fixing your sleep to fixing global trade. And the technological engine for all of this is natural intelligence.
I think the most powerful nugget we uncover today is that functional definition of Ni technology. It's a system where high quality is proven by an output not equaling the input.
It's a fundamentally nonlinear, unpredictable, yet perfected result, driven by a spiritual contract rather than human innovation.
And this technological claim is enforced through a commercial structure that uses immense geopolitical leverage. We analyze terms and conditions that dictate eternal, irreversible government commitment.
And threaten the immediate global termination of physical services if local trust is breached. The system is designed to compel commitment, to enforce the successful deployment of the good ideas meant to program minds for peace.
We've spent our time today analyzing how one individual has attempted to synthesize an entire worldview and commercial system, blending ancient spiritual concepts with cutting-edge technology terms and a very aggressive global e-commerce strategy.
And this raises a powerful final question for you to consider. In an era where artificial intelligence is increasingly defined by its computational predictability, by its input-output relationship, and its dependence on vast human datasets, what does it mean to define and market natural intelligence as a service that succeeds only when output defies input?
And if the human experience, with all its faith, creativity, ethical judgment, and unpredictable agency, is only 50% reliable, as the source claims for AI systems, does a doctrine like SosnasNi's, which insists on first optimizing the basic biological and psychological functions of the individual, offer a compelling, albeit extreme, roadmap to achieving true, sustainable self-mastery and global peace?
That is a profound question, a question of the future relationship between man, machine, and divinity.